Truck-kun does its job and game ends this loser, but he respawns with Sage level skill and becomes unstoppable. Now every top-tier princess baddie wants to lock him down.
There's a few guys working in the office while it is late. Two guys finally finish their work, but the third one stays because he still has a lot to do. As he finishes up, he laments that he has nobody waiting for him back home. When he finally goes home, the most generic thing in the world happens where he crosses the street on a red light and gets hit by a car. This might just be a ritual to make somebody a protagonist. Then, he reincarnates into a baby held by some magical grandpa. Time passes, and he is now a young boy introducing himself as Shin Wolford. He finishes up hunting some forest creatures and narrates that he remembers his past life, but now just lives with Merlin, the grandpa who saved him from a crashed carriage in the forest. Merlin teaches him magic, and Shin seems to be really good at it. Unsurprisingly, as Shin lights up some logs with fire magic, some people he recognizes approach the house from the road. There is an older lady called Melita who is concerned that Shin is hunting by himself at such a young age, and the other guy is called Michelle, who is not worried in the slightest. 2 years later, Shin is 10, and Merlin takes him to do his first demon hunt. In this world, demons are creatures that lost control of their magic, and humans can transform too. Shin says that once upon a time a person transformed into a demon and nearly destroyed a whole nation, but Merlin saved it, to which Grandpa just does an old man laugh. Then, he shows Shin how to spread magical power out to detect creatures around you, including demons, and Shin immediately replicates the magic perfectly. He finds some sinister aura a distance away and tells Grandpa that they should hurry there. Merlin agrees. When they get there, Shin immediately attacks the demonic beast, even though Grandpa warns him not to hurry. With a great sword technique and magic to enhance his movement, he swiftly decapitates the beast. Merlin zones out thinking about the day he found baby Shin again, but then Shin asks him if he did well, and Grandpa agrees that this was a resounding success. In the evening, the three geezers gather to yap, and everyone is surprised at how talented Shin is both at physical and magical combat. Melita mentions that Merlin has softened since the time people called him the Lord of Destruction, making Merlin wince, and he says that he loves Shin like he is his own grandson. Later, as Shin trains with Michelle, Merlin approaches them and says he needs to talk about something with Shin. When they go to a private spot, Merlin says that he is not Shin's real grandpa. He is just a person who found the baby still alive in a carriage accident, and Shin says he knew that already. Merlin says the demon who did this to the carriage might have been the one they defeated earlier. Shin asks if Grandpa knows anything about his parents, and Merlin says that they were beyond recognition, to which Shin is not bothered and says that he has Grandpa to take care of him, making Merlin blush. Wow, Shin really did not give a damn. Ice cold when Shin sincerely thanks Merlin for taking him in. Grandpa starts crying like a little girl. Time passes, and Shin is now 15 years old. A few more people are at his birthday party, and a blonde man called Diziem, or Uncle Dis, asks Shin what he wants to do now that he is an adult. Shin answers that he has never been out of the forest and that he wants to visit the town nearby. And two more people, Christina and Siegfried, ask if there is anything more he wants to do after, like join the Royal Order or become a demon hunter. Another man called Tom Hag says that there is something called the Demon Hunter Society, which is self-explanatory. Siegfried adds that he could also be a magic gear dealer or land himself a sugar mommy. Base Shin says that he'll have to learn how to earn and use money now. This is when everyone realizes Merlin coddled him all his life and didn't teach him common things or social practices. Kind of like you, but you don't even have any magical powers. Later on, Shin uses an original teleportation spell to move everyone present to a different spot, and they marvel at the spell and wonder what they'll be doing here. Merlin tells him to do the thing, and Shin uses an area spell that puts a big crater in the ground and makes everyone soil their pants. Everyone is screaming at Merlin again because he didn't teach Shin to limit himself, but he just says he wanted to see what Shin could do with all the knowledge he was given. When everyone comes back to Merlin's home, they have a discussion where everyone is now afraid to send Shin off into the world with his huge power and no social skills or limiters. Uncle Dis offers to enroll him into a magic academy in his country for him to see just how up he is and also be around people his own age and get some social skills. Shin accepts readily and finally asks who Diziem is, to which he replies that he is the king of the kingdom of Earlshide. The two young people with him are his personal escorts, and Michelle is an ex-knight commander of the Knight Order. Dis is indebted to Merlin for subjugating the first demonized human that nearly killed him when he was still the crown prince, mentioning that Melita was also there as a skilled combatant and was quite the looker back then. Some would say this even now, and I respect and fear them. Shin is delighted that once upon a time Merlin and Melita formed their own party, to which Christina says that they were actually married back then. Now that Shin is on his way to the city which he'll live in, he apologizes to Melita for dragging her along with him and Merlin, and she answers that she has doubts about leaving everything to Merlin alone anyway. Rightfully so. When they arrive, there is a commotion because Merlin and Melita are extremely popular in town, and Shin is surprised at being called Master Shin. They finally get to Merlin's dwelling given by the country, and it is a mansion with an unreasonably large amount of butlers. Merlin sends Shin to walk around town while they deal with everything over at the mansion, and Shin has his first purchase, an apple to munch on while he walks around. When he gets to a dark alley, of course there is pretty young ladies being harassed by three guys, so Shin steps in to stop it and defeats them easily. Talk about making a first impression. The girls thank him and ask if he is okay, to which he says he is just fine, but then sees Booba and nearly loses all reason. The two girls and Shin go to a cafe, and the pink-haired girl introduces herself as Maria while the blue-haired one is Sicily. They happen to be taking the entrance exam to the Magic Academy next month. Same as Shin. The girls are surprised because they thought he was a knight in training, but he holds out his hand for a friendly handshake for each of them, which Sicily takes shyly while blushing. Then Maria starts talking about the rumors of Merlin and Melita returning to the capital, and Shin wisely doesn't say anything about being their grandson. Next, she starts yapping about Merlin's grandson taking the test too, and dreamily wonders what he would look like, which prompts Shin to get up and evacuate, paying for everyone's drinks. After he leaves, Maria teases Sicily for getting really flustered, and it looks like Shin has an effortless riz. Shin arrives at the site of the entrance exams, feeling motivated to do his best. When he looks up the room he needs to go to at a board outside, a guy tells him to stand aside, then grabs his shoulder. Of course, he immediately gets put to the ground, screaming for Shin to let go, and that he is Kurt von Ritzberg. These words mean nothing to Shin. He just introduces himself back. Another blonde guy arrives to scold Kurt for throwing his authority around and introduces himself as August, the king's son. Shin figures that since Dis thinks of himself as Shin's uncle, that kind of makes them cousins, and August agrees while laughing merrily. The day continues with a written exam, then a practical one. It is time for Shin to finally see how others cast their spells, and it turns out everyone has a cheesy little chant which just makes him lose it. It is now Shin's turn, and the lady overseeing the practical part of the exam says that she knows about his power level and tells him to hold himself back. When Shin unleashes a spell with no chant, everyone is surprised and terrified when the target explodes and the room fills with smoke, dust, and rubble. In the evening, Academy staff is reviewing exam scores, and they're all surprised by how powerful Shin was. So in the end, it is decided that of course he will have the top score. When all the students come to get their uniforms and textbooks, Shin is told that he has to come up with a speech at the entrance ceremony since he got the top score. He tries to drop this duty onto Prince August, but he refuses, saying it is a tradition that the top scorer does the speech. As they both walk away, the two girls from earlier watch on. Maria tries to get Sicily to talk to Shin, but she can't bring herself to do it. Later on, we see Kurt, the pathetic guy we saw outside earlier, having a meltdown over having a lower school rank than Shin. Have a Kit Kat, man. Meanwhile, Shin is reviewing the enchantments on his school clothes. They're good, but he decides to erase them to add his own anyway. He adds absolute physical and magical defense, self-healing, and anti-tampering magic. And I think Kurt's not the only one who needs to chill. When the enchantment succeeds, he shouts so loud Melita opens the door and gets angry that he is causing a disturbance. On the day of the entrance ceremony, he and both Merlin and Melita arrive at the school, and Grandma tells Shin to tell no one about the magic he put on the uniform. Just then, people spot them and surround the two elderly celebrities. Shin runs away to meet up with August, and the prince trolls him by talking about his upcoming speech again. At this time, the two girls he met earlier pass by them. They all go into the auditorium and get on the stage as the new students should, and Shin is called to make his speech. The girls finally realize he is Merlin's grandson, like they didn't even bother to see his full name on the public scoreboard. Kurt is about to explode seeing him do the speech. After this, they go into their respective classrooms, and the S-class teacher Alfred Marcus greets them. They go over the schedule for tomorrow and finish. After that, Maria calls Shin over to talk to Sicily, who seems down. It turns out that Kurt is trying to force his company onto her. This man seems incapable of having normal relationships with people. So this mouth breather approaches and puts a hand on her shoulder, which gets slapped away by Shin immediately, him saying that he is going to protect her. Kurt says that they're engaged, but Sicily insists that she declined his engagement and he is just harassing her now. Then Kurt reveals that her father is in a lower position at the same office as his father, so her father could be fired easily if she defies his words. So she starts to cry. August appears and stops the argument, roasting Kurt for throwing his status around. After Kurt flees, the prince says that he was just interested in seeing what Shin would do and asks Sicily if Shin acted cool, to which she says yes while blushing, causing Shin to blush as well. Then Shin says that Kurt is probably not done with his antics yet, and while thinking of what to do, he invites everyone over to Merlin and Melita's mansion. Maria happily agrees, saying she has to go for a bit first to notify her parents. August is planning to go there as well since the king will probably also be there, and two of his personal escorts appear to be going as well, Julius and Thor. When the group gets to Merlin and Melita, everyone gets introduced by Shin, and Melita notices something brewing. Then, Shin explains the situation with Sicily and asks to redo the enchantments on her uniform. Then Melita asks if Sicily feels worthy enough to accept such enchantments on her uniform since they're so powerful they would cause an uproar in the country. Sicily says that she is not worthy of it while tearing up since she is already taking advantage of his kindness as is. Then she stands up to leave, but Melita stops her, saying that her telling the truth instead of just taking the enchantments is commendable. Shin says that he doesn't feel taken advantage of since helping her is his own initiative, and Grandma gives her a hug while apologizing for the little test. Afterwards, Merlin talks to Shin alone and says that he has no idea Sicily was trying to use him and is a little bit depressed that he has no authority in the house and was like thin air in that whole scene. Bro should have had popcorn. born. Sicily changes clothes with Melida's help, and Grandma thinks that she should find a way to rein her in somehow so she doesn't depend on Shin too much. Come on, Grandma, let the man have relationship trauma at 15 years old. Everyone is present and shocked at Shin rewriting the enchantments. Uncle Dis warns Shin to never talk about this ever again because if the military finds out about this, they would want these enchantments to wage war, and Shin is horrified at the thought of it. But then the king also asks to enchant August's clothing, and his escorts get roped into it as well, Maria being the only one against wearing a state secret every day. In the evening, before everyone is about to go home, Shin proposes to walk Sicily home and shows how easily it could be done with his teleportation gate. Everyone is once again flabbergasted when the gate he opens leads to their old home in the forest, and Shin says he can only open a gate to a place he has been at before, so they'll have to take a carriage to her home first. Smooth. In the morning, Shin escorts Maria and Sicily to school, and he and Sicily get lovey-dovey while Maria is about to be sick from all that. Immediately after arriving at school, he gets teased by August for already being a harem protagonist, and then a blonde girl named Alice literally slides up to the group. The teacher arrives to do homeroom and then guides the class around the school. He talks about the school being divided into two parts, the one with all the classrooms in it and the one with everything else like the faculty office, laboratories, and study groups. As they're talking about study groups, which are like clubs here, August proposes that Shin creates his own club, and some other students pop up agreeing with that might or might not be in Shin's future harem. We'll see. Shin is not a fan of the idea, but Sicily says she'd like to join if he creates one. So that changes his tune real quick. Alice proposes for the club to be focused on the exploits of Merlin and Melita, but there is already a club with this theme, and then a girl named Lynn proposes something called the Ultimate Magic Study Group, which seems fitting for a protagonist. Meanwhile, in the king's office, everyone is surprised by the general increase in demon activity lately, and one of the people present theorizes that the increase may be manipulated by someone requesting an investigation, which the king agrees on. Back at Kurt's place, his father reproaches him for being a pathetic scumbag, but Kurt is relentless and thinks he is chosen. Yeah, chosen to be the most pathetic guy in town, more like. To that, his father actually hits him and orders servants to lock the boy in his room. The next day, Shin and the gang find out Kurt's been grounded, and as Shin asks why he acts the way he does, August escorts answer that he has never been like this before, only changing his attitude after he went to a lab led by someone called Mr. Shockram. Apparently the guy was really shady, said he was exiled and wore a patch over both his eyes, not sus at all. At the same time, this same guy is led into Kurt's estate by his mother in an attempt to help them understand what is going on. He enters Kurt's room and, after hearing Kurt blaming Shin for all the troubles in his life, applies a spell that makes the boy go berserk. In the cafeteria, August says to Shin that there is no real reason to escort Sicily now, but Shin sees no harm in walking her to school anyway, which greatly pleases Sicily. Then he reveals that he can sense ill will in people with his search magic, and that he has hunted demons before, leaving everyone shocked again. When they all go to study group orientation, Shin suddenly senses something bad approaching, and Kurt comes out of the woods hurling fire magic at Sicily. Shin defends against it, but even he can't completely guard it, and his hands become burnt. While the healing spell on his uniform kicks in, demonic energy surrounds Kurt. Shin tells everyone to run because they'll get in the way, and August complies reluctantly while Sicily has to be dragged away by Maria. Kurt screams curses at Shin, and the hero is astonished as demonized beings never had a shred of reason before. He figures that the boy hasn't been fully demonized, so there must be a way to turn him back. But then Demon Kurt gathers enough magical energy to not only blow himself up, but the whole school too. So Shin has to kill him. After he is done, he just stands there wondering what else he could have done to save him, as his classmates run up to him, worried. Shockram is being a creep and spying on Shin. Meanwhile, Shin and the others talk about how weird it is that a normal person has been demonized. Shin suggests that this might be artificially induced and someone experimented on Kurt. Shin and his harem get to the mansion and meet Uncle Dis, who says that Shin has been awarded a medal for defeating a demonoid. Dis reaffirms that he won't use Shin for political purposes, but not giving him the award would be bad rep. The next morning, while walking to school, Shin is embarrassed because everyone's talking about him saving the day. Sicily blushes because some girls assume she is his fiancée. Then Shin apologizes for the unwanted attention. The teacher in charge of Shin's study group is hounded by people wanting to join, but then says only those who can use intradimensional storage magic can get accepted. Kingdom's higher-ups discuss Shin's theory of artificial demonization and decide to investigate Kurt's background. When the study group entrance exam concludes, a few new people join the group: Mark Bean from a famous smithy and Olivia Stone, whose family owns a popular restaurant called the Brick Oven. Shin asks Mark if he could craft him a better sword since his old one is pretty simple, and he accepts. Redhead girl named Yuri from the study group nearly shows off her melons trying to riz Shin up as well, angering Sicily. Kingdom's investigators arrive at Shockram's living quarters and ask him to help them out with the investigation, meaning to arrest him at an opportune moment. While that is happening, Shin's thinking about what type of sword he should request to be made, and the group comes up with the idea of a hilt with disposable blades. They decide to swing by the smithy to try some stuff out, while Maria tags along with Olivia to talk about the restaurant food. The investigators get Shockram to the city under the pretense of examining Kurt's body, then surround him with soldiers and mages. Of course, in return, turn, he blasts a wall to bits intending to leave since he is done with his experiments here, but stumbles upon Shin and the rest of the study group. When Shockram says some generic evil stuff and does a slasher smile, Shin has enough and goes on the offensive, but the blindfolded man is not so easy to defeat, even using floating magic to suspend himself in the air. When Shin breaks his mask, it is revealed that Shockram is a demonized human with his sense of reason intact because he has red demon eyes. As the man rejects his fate as a member of humanity, Shin gathers strength for a huge prismatic blast above the dome of the building they were fighting in. He manages to set it off, seemingly killing Shockram, but Shin doubts that. A few more people run up to Shin, namely the current Knight Commander Dominic Gaster and Captain of the Court Magic Division Rupert Olgren, both of them thanking our protagonist for saving the day yet again. The next episode opens with Maria using a bidet presented in a very sus way for your imagination to run wild. Melita asks her about how Shin and Sicily's relationship is progressing, but Maria answers that while they're both into each other, Sicily doesn't know that what she feels is love. Not another day, the study group finally makes their way to the smithy, as Shin tells August that Shockram is likely still alive. Now on edge, August says that the royal family will sponsor whatever Shin needs since he is the only one who can go toe-to-toe with the man. They arrive at Beanworks, and Olivia is hijacked by the girls to talk about relationships. Hearing about his famous and probably loaded visitors, Mark's dad eagerly accepts Shin's order. Back in the Blusphia Empire, a man named Zest and some noble talk about the commotion in the kingdom, and the noble says this might be a chance to finally invade it. As Shin and the others go out of the smithy, they meet up with the girls, and Shin notices an accessory store, thinking of gifting Sicily one and enchanting it. Sicily is kinda sad that he is being practical rather than being romantic, and everyone else judges Shin for that as well. They go into the store, and Sicily tells Shin to choose something for her, and he chooses an elegant ring with dark blue gems embedded in it. The day of the award ceremony has arrived, and the medal for Shin is given out by Diziem himself. To Shin's surprise, Diziem also tells everyone present about the promise he made to not exploit his talent. The next morning, as Shin, Sicily, and Maria try to get out of the mansion, a crowd of people descends upon them to treat Shin as a celebrity or something, so they have to use a relocation gate to get right into the study group room. Everyone present marvels at Shin again. How does this keep happening? And Shin plans to put everyone through the ringer to make them better at magic. They talk about how magic works in this world, and the rest of the study group thinks that stronger magic needs better chance to be devised, but Shin says it is all a matter of magic control instead. After comparing Maria's weak magic barrier to a stronger barrier that Sicily made with the help of Shin's enchanted ring, Shin flexes on them by showing them a portion of the magic he controls, and the rest of the study group wets their pants. Back in the Empire, a wounded Shockram is talking about the happenings in the kingdom with a pretty lady called Miria. It seems that there will be war between the Empire and the kingdom. After school, Shin gets home via the gate again with all his classmates, because the crowd outside was just too big. Everyone introduces themselves to Merlin and Melita, and they talk about Shin's method of visualization of magic, and how it is based on the processes rather than the result. Then Merlin opens a gate and says that he finally learned how to use it as well, meaning that everyone can learn if they visualize it correctly and have enough magic control. Later, Melita praises him for making Shin feel less abnormal among his peers by doing this. Next day, Shin sees Lin with wounds and bruises and asks her what happened, and she says that she practiced magic control and this happens often. After that, they go to the smithy to see the progress on Shin's sword design. It turns out it is completed fast, and Shin also gets accessories to enchant for everybody later. August asks if it is alright to propose the expendable blade design to the army and explains that war with the Empire might be close at hand. Thor says that they may be enlisted as well if war breaks out, unsettling everyone, and Shin says that he will fight to protect everyone when it comes to that. At the Blusphia Empire base camp, the noble we saw earlier is revealed to be Emperor Harold, and he doesn't seem too smart since Zest fed him false info and went in hiding, while Empire troops were suffering severe casualties by the hands of the kingdom's soldiers. A soldier arrives and says that demons have been attacking all over the Empire capital, and the Emperor is forced to retreat to protect it. The Knight Commander of the kingdom is thinking of giving the Empire troops a thrashing on the way out, but demon forces block the kingdom's advance army's path, and everybody is confused as to what is going on. Shram and Miria, the lady now turned demonoid, wreak havoc on the Empire capital and are in cahoots with Zest. A few days later, the Emperor finally arrives back in the capital and his troops start putting down the demons, but when he moves to his quarters, he is greeted by Shockram himself. Shockram promptly removes the Emperor from Life Knight Commander, and the Magic Division captain foolishly go into the decimated Empire capital to find out what is going on and encounter Shockram. As Shockram yaps about being responsible for the whole war, demonized citizens of the Empire appear around them. The kingdom's forces manage to retreat and relay this information to Diziem. It is decided that the Magic Academy students will be training with students from the Knight Training School, and the mages are not happy about it because knights bully and don't respect them at all, calling mages sprouts. Shin reveals that he was trained in the sword arts by Michelle, the ex-Knight Commander, and everyone is shocked yet again, like they didn't expect Shin to say something out of pocket for a millionth time. The joint training begins with 4 magicians and 4 knights being put into a group, then individual groups exterminating demons in certain areas of the forest. Predictably, the Knight students are not treating mages fairly, and the ones from Shin's group present themselves as Creus Lloyd, who is the top first-year student, Miranda Wallace, Noon Curtis, and Kent McGregor. Pay attention, this will be on the test. As they're arguing with Shin, August proposes that the Knights try to defeat a demon without the mage's backup, and they accept. They arrive at an area deep in the forest, and Chris and Sieg meet them as the group advisors. Everyone runs up to the two of them to greet them, as it seems that both of them are popular, and after that the mission begins. The advisors approve of the plan to let the Knight students defeat a demon, and Maria is still doubting the Knights, but knows she can't do much better at her skill level. A realistic view which Sieg praises, making her blush. As they go deeper into the forest, the Knight students grow more tense. Then Shin finally picks up the traces of a demon close by. A demonized boar appears to ruin the day of the rookie Knights, and they don't stand a chance. Shin has to show off by decapitating the beast with one blow, and the Knights get chewed out by Chris for the poor showing. Sicily runs up to them to treat them with some restoration magic, and the boys immediately get charmed by her huge kindness. As Shin is in the background ready to kill, the Knight boys start to treat her like a princess, and both Maria and Miranda are upset that they've never received similar treatment. Sieg announces that there are demons on the way, and everyone should get their heads back in the game. There are about 100 of them, and most of them are running away from a very powerful tiger demonoid, and Shin offers to take care of all of them himself. He is still pissed, so he gets explosive with his magic and completely obliterates the surrounding area. After everyone finishes soiling their undies, Miranda approaches him to apologize for treating the mages this way, then apologizes to Sicily for lashing out at her boyfriend, causing the two to blush harder than they ever have before. The joint training continues, and this time our Knights work together with mages. As they take down a bear demon together, Sieg and Chris are content with their progress as a team. When Sieg asks if there is some secret training behind the mage's drastic improvement, Shin answers that he helped them with visualizing magic as he does. When Sieg perks up at that and asks if he can learn that too, August chimes in and says that this would be like Shin helping the military since Sieg is with the army. Sieg asks if they could at least tell how Merlin taught Shin magic, and the reply is just practicing magic control day by day for overall improvement. As Maria and Sicily demonstrate, using this method their magic barriers grew way stronger and thicker, and Sieg gets motivated to practice this method from now on. Then, the exercise ends and Shin wonders how the other teams are doing. Another group with some of Shin's study buddies is doing alright, but there is resentment between Tony and a Knight in training Giulio because Tony stole his girl, then broke up with her shortly after. In another group, the lady study buddies are being underestimated, and Thor is also there, I guess. The Knights get bent yet again, so the magicians have to save them, but Lynn loses control of her thunder magic and goes overboard with the explosions. As the magical study group reconvenes, they share their experiences and take a few stabs at Shin and Sicily getting cozy with each other the whole day. But then August drops the news that everyone in the group will most likely be placed under supervision and into a special mages unit under his leadership following graduation because of the progress they had made. Shin is sad because he made this happen, but the rest of the team cheers him up because to them it sounds like their future is secured and they could end up saving the world from threats like demonoids and such. A few days later, as the study group practices spells in Shin's old practice spot to avoid unwanted attention, August says that some new info on demonoids has been found. Apparently more and more demonoids are wreaking havoc all over the Empire now, and all the nobles and most commoners have been killed, so there is talks of a coalition between the Empire and the Kingdom. Hearing that, Shin proposes to organize a training camp when they have the summer break, and they decide to stay over at Sicily's family's hot springs area. That is right, we got to the hot springs episode, boys. When Shin talks about the idea with Merlin and Melita, they propose to supervise the trip to make sure nothing bad or horny happens. The first day of the trip arrives, and the group sets off in horse-drawn carriages. Maria mentions that the harnesses are enchanted to lighten the burden for the horses for the 2-day trip there, and that Melita developed many practical spells for everyday use, which impresses Shin and makes Melita blush. As the sky grows dark, Shin gets sleepy, but suddenly he feels the presence of demons nearby. The study group draws lots to determine who will clear them out, and Lynn wins. She easily dispatches the medium-sized demons with wind magic, people around marveling at kids being so powerful. They finally arrive at the city of Claude that Sicily is from and go straight to the Claude Manor, and the people there welcome them warmly and hope that Sicily and Shin live a long, happy life together, causing both of them to turn red in the face. Guys of the group enter the hot springs to relax, and while in there, Merlin thanks everyone for being friends with Shin. August replies that he should be thankful instead because he has never had someone his age treat him as an equal, and everyone else pitches in, saying that they feel like they belong here. In return, Shin thanks Grandpa Merlin for raising him into a worthy, good person, causing Grandpa to burst into tears in front of everyone. Meanwhile, Melita also thanks the girls for being friends with Shin, and they all reply that they're grateful to have met him as well, making her tear up. The training camp continues on, and between Merlin's magic control exercise, Melida's gear enchanting lectures, and Shin's magic practice, the study group is steadily gaining in power. However, Merlin and Shin still think it will be tough for them to fight against demonoids. As practice is ongoing, Shin thinks up a new destructive spell, and when he tries it out, he manages to make perfectly round holes in a few mountains far away, which frightens the group, who has frankly seen too much to be surprised anymore. After that, August asks Shin to use his relocation magic to go to the castle for some info gathering, but they instead stumble upon August's fiancée, Elizabeth von Corelli. She politely greets Shin, but then chews August out for leaving her and his younger sister May alone to go on a trip. Apparently, the two ladies are gearing up to join them on the trip as well, and when the boys talk to Dezeus, he basically says why not, what a caring guy. When they relocate back to the hot springs town, May is excited to be with Shin, who considers both her and August his cousins, but Ellie is jealous because all August talks about is Shin. Oh no! August manages to successfully riz Ellie back to having peace of mind, but raises the topic of Shin already having someone he loves, and tells him to make that clear to her already. When Shin says he is unsure if Sicily feels the same as he does, August retaliates by saying that he'll never find out if he keeps dancing around the topic and not having enough courage. The two ladies introduce themselves to the study group and Melita, and May hyperventilates because she is a big Melita fan and this is a dream come true. When the talk switches to baby Shin being clingy and everybody jokes about it, Sicily blurts out that she'd be happy to have children with him, then implodes and runs away. Now Shin finally realizes that she is into him. In the evening, Shin sees Sicily sitting in a gazebo near the mansion and joins her. It is awkward the first few moments, then they both giggle and Sicily apologizes for her outburst earlier. Shin admits that he felt flattered when she said it, then says that ever since the first time he met her, it was like a lightning struck him. He confesses his love in no uncertain terms, and Sicily's eyes wet with happy tears. All this time she thought he might have just been nice to her since he is always nice, but now that he said otherwise, she can say with a clear heart that she loves him too. They almost seal their new relationship status with a kiss when the rest of the gang literally drops in, losing their balance while hiding nearby. As Merlin and Melita cheer for Shin finally saying it, August suggests to not lose his focus on training in any case. On another occasion, the group meets up at the beach, and Shin decides to invent magic volleyball in this world. Lynn's team wins because her unhinged magic is pretty unstoppable, and it is pretty clear that people dig this game. In the evening, the gang gets together to yap, and the topic happens to be about how so many people know August. It turns out that nobles have parties when they turn 5 and make sort of a debut, mingling with other noble children. This is when August met Ellie, who was the only one disinterested in talking to him. I guess he is into ice queens. As Melita marches towards their room to quiet them down, they all hide under the blankets and turn the light off. The plan almost proceeds without a hitch. Then Sicily notices that Shin's hand happened to grope her soft melons and starts screeching, prompting Melita to look upon Shin with the fury of 1,000 suns. Yeah, he is never beating the allegations. Shin hasn't slept much that night thinking about last night, so when he meets Sicily in the morning, he is a bit awkward, but then she asks him for a favor. Turns out she wants them to come out as a couple to her parents, so they use Shin's gate to go back to her home. Sicily's parents, Irene and Cecil, are confused as to what is going on, but the dad definitely perks up happily when he hears the news. The mom, however, asks if he is prepared to marry her. He answers her with a determined stare, and so the mother congratulates them. Later on, the training continues, and the two royal ladies are invited to try out magic control training. Ellie refuses on the grounds of having no magical aptitude, but May turns out to be a little prodigy with the way she practices. Back in the Empire, Shockram is being evil as usual, and talking about how the food shortages they engineered by attacking caravans with food may just about be the breaking point, and the situation will change soon. Back at training camp, Shin is experimenting with new magic again, meaning everyone else is cowering in fear behind magic barriers. When he says it won't be attack magic, everyone finally breathes out. Then Shin takes a rock from the ground and after a bit manages to make it float. Everyone's floored already, but the next thing he does is try to float himself, which he of course succeeds at. May wants to learn that magic too immediately, but then Maria warns her that everyone will be able to see her undergarments, so she relents. In the evening, Shin tells Merlin and Melita that he is kind of engaged now, which surprises them, but not that much. Melita asks to see Sicily's parents and they comply. So when they do meet, they clear up that Shin is not blood related to both of them. Melita thought that they agreed to the engagement because of their status as heroes, but Sicily's parents clear up that this is not the case and their intentions are to make their daughter happy and safe. Now on another day, everyone in the study group gets dripped out with some new enchanted clothing on the occasion of Shin wanting to do actual combat training. May makes a fuss about being left behind, but Shin pulls out an odd cup item through which one can communicate with others at a great distance, basically inventing magic phones. But Melita immediately chews him out for creating another potentially dangerous item, so he leaves it around the manor. They're on a trail of a catastrophic class demonized lion. Shin tells the people with supportive roles in combat to go first, and their team defeats the lion without much sweat. Shin says that the attack role members can probably take harder demons like this individually, so off they go to exterminate pests. Everyone deals with their targets easily, and Shin's happy that everyone's magic is on an entirely new level. But then August says that he is looking forward to Shin leveling up in his own way at the upcoming engagement party as well. As Shin is getting ready for the party, he feels a bit awkward, but then Sicily walks in and blows him away with her beauty as they're mercilessly flirting with each other. They get interrupted yet again. Did nobody invent locks on doors yet in this world. When they walk into the dining hall, everyone Shin ever cares about is there cheering on their happiness. Dazim uses his clout to make the engagement official and raises a toast to the lovebirds, and everyone joins in. After the party, however, Shin apologizes for doing things in the wrong order and finally presents his engagement ring to her. As they share a sweet moment, one pulls the other into a love-filled kiss. In yet another training session, Shin casts floating magic on group members so they could try out moving themselves with wind magic. It is going well, and Mei eagerly asks Shin if she could learn it soon too, showing puffy underpants and embarrassing everyone around before realizing that this action is a rude one. Then Shin uses his phone like creation as a speaker to tell the floating people to come down and switch with the ones on the ground, while August and Thor talk about the prince's investiture ceremony coming up soon. In the Empire, Shockram is content as the last city has fallen to the demonoid plague. Miria internally remarks that even though he hates nobles enough to want to destroy them completely, making commoners suffer because of it is beyond that. So there must be another reason or motivation, as Shockram considers his goal of conquering the Empire completed. His demonoid subjects are in shock as he seems to have no grander ambitions. Miria asks why he hates the Empire so much, so he tells her of his history with it. Back when he was still known as Oliveira, he was a hard-working man with prosperous farmlands. Unlike other nobles in the Empire, he traveled around as a little boy and saw the possibility of a world where commoners aren't treated like slaves in the Earshide Kingdom, so he created his own little farmland paradise where he treated workers with respect. His wife Arya, heavy with child, was as supportive of his endeavors as she was concerned for his well-being. Harold, not yet emperor then, hatched an evil plot with other nobles seething over Oliveira's success so as not to permit him to continue his work and ascend to the throne. They decided to summon him to the capital and keep him there for a while as Harold works his magic. Oliveira, happy to finally receive false recognition from other nobles, doesn't think twice about going to the capital, but Arya senses a foul plot. Since he is quite good with magic, he doesn't worry about being assassinated, but she still prays for his safe return. While he is off, rumors of Oliveira kidnapping commoners and selling them as slaves spread like wildfire by Harold's subordinates, and 2 months pass with him unable to return home until he excuses himself to be present for his future child's birth. As the commoners grew more and more angry at the continuing kidnappings, they decided to take the matters into their own hands and razed Oliveira's home to the ground, his wife perishing in the fire. The man, now mad with grief, but still perfectly capable of understanding who did this to him, curses everyone in the Empire before a surge rises up from within him, turning the whites of his eyes blood red. With his story over, his subordinates leave. Zest talks to another officer, Lawrence, and says that now Shockram needs a new goal to accomplish. He orders the guy to infiltrate the demonoids who left and get them to attack the kingdom of Swede that borders Earlshide. He thinks that Shin will take this bait and that he will be the perfect next objective for Shockram. Meanwhile, August's ceremony of being inaugurated to Crown Prince arrives, but during it a soldier comes in with a message that the kingdom of Swede is overrun by demonoids. August basically says he has a team prepared to tackle that and that they learned a lot from Shin, the op protagonist. Then he leaves Shin to say something encouraging and think of a name for their team instead of study group, and his brain does the dial-up sound so he just calls them ultimate magicians. Then he flexes on the audience by applying floating magic and the team flies away. Next, we see the attack on Swede happening with about 100 demonoids going on the offensive. The length of time between that and Shin and the others currently flying through space is unknown. While flying, August says that he shared some of Shin's defensive magic with Swede. How many pies does this man have his fingers in? As they all yap about relationships and whatnot, the kingdom in need of help comes into view. Fires ravaging through the streets. The demonoids are making fools of themselves and chasing non-combatants, which means they will be prime targets for Shin and the others' anger. One of them tries to scare Shin upon seeing him, only to immediately get blasted to smithereens. Just as Thor escorts a woman out of the danger zone, August makes an announcement that Earlshide reinforcements have arrived and that demonoids should know they're about to be erased off the face of the world. As Shin approaches Sicily to tell her to tend to the wounded like she hasn't heard the order the first time, she smiles and tells him to be careful. Lawrence lies in ambush, eager to see Shin's skills. Lynn and Alice find a demonoid in another place and prepare to put the man 6 feet under, but he calls them kids and that drastically shortens his lifespan even more. Alice laments it a bit because he was still kind of a human being, but Lynn answers that he is even worse than a mindless demon because he is aware of the crimes and evils he is committing, and there is no mercy for people like that. Suddenly, they hear a scream and arrive just in time to save a soldier from being obliterated by another demonoid on a power trip. He calls them kids too, and guess what? Gets Thanos snapped from existence a few moments later by an angry Alice. Somewhere else, the Swede court mages are attacked by an especially bulky demonoid. As Thor questions one of the demonoids, he is fighting about why they're doing this, and on whose command, the demonoid guy just answers that all he can do since getting this power is being a mad hater and loathing everyone living in peace and comfort. Another group is about to attack the aid station for the wounded, but they get slam dunked on by lovebirds Mark and Olivia. Sicily is trying her best to heal as many people as possible inside, even if she is overwhelmed. Shin is soloing demonoids and doing extensive property damage on the city, and Lawrence can't even figure out if he has a weakness. August and Maria are just about finished clearing out their own area when they encounter the bulky demonoid. When August finds out that he is the leader of the demonoids attacking the city, he is ready to eliminate and emote on this man. But Maria tries to sneak attack him first, as the man makes an inappropriate comment about her. August snickers, saying that someone finally likes her, but then the man throws a good punch at her. She blocks and he realizes something's weird, and when he throws her into a wall and she emerges only slightly hurt, he understands that her clothing is enchanted and he has to aim for exposed body parts. As she launches a barrage of magic attacks at him, he reveals that he looted a staff enchanted with Shin's magic barrier from one of the court mages he defeated. August and Maria exchange looks and start launching an apocalyptic amount of lethal magic, and they know that he lacks concentration to make full use of the barrier, which ultimately breaks. As August lightning punches a hole through the man's chest, the boy laments that it had to come to this. The monarch of Swede breathes a sigh of relief, and Merlin and Melita, standing next to him, say that they didn't need to help after all in the end. Zess, watching all this from a distance, says he did not anticipate this power level from the group and Shin in particular, then sends Miria in. Shockram, hearing about all this happening, arrives at the party fashionably late as well. As Sicily continues in her struggle to help alleviate the pain of the victims, Shin notices that something different has appeared on the radar. Lynn and Alice engage with Miria in combat first though, protecting some soldiers from her flames. For a second, it seems like they'll prevail, but Miria has both magical barriers in place as well as overwhelming physical strength to boot, capturing Alice. While the chaos unfolds, Lawrence sounds the retreat. Although chased by Shin demonoids don't have much chance of succeeding, but some do flee because Shin avoids catching allied soldiers in his attacks. When he finally notices the fight between Miria and Lynn and Alice, he also sees others joining in and getting smacked around by Miria's might and magic. When he arrives, he heals Lynn and tells Yuri to take care of the others, and Miria sizes him up. They get into a short encounter, and Miria understands that she is outclassed. Then August and others arrive to help, and she decides to dip. Shin tries to give chase, but Lawrence cuts him off with an ice blast. Then Miria lays down an explosion spell to deal with the whole group at once. Shin shouts to August to protect everyone and bears most of the brunt of the attack, but by the time the explosion dissipates, the demonoids are nowhere to be found. They wonder about the point of this attack, and Shin says if Shockram was here, they wouldn't have gotten away with it so easily. As the man himself watches demonoids retreat, he seems to be interested in playing around with Shin since things have grown dull since the Empire fell. They visit the aid station to check on Sicily and others, and Shin finds Sicily further in, barely able to hold on. She starts crying and saying she can't do anything for the man she was healing, but gets an idea and starts to undress so she can put her clothing with auto healing magic on him. Shin bursts in and says it won't help him, but he can. As he starts healing the man organ by organ, he marvels that Sicily's magic has been able to keep this man alive for so long. August looks from the entrance of the room, thinking that he really can't hold a candle to Shin's power. As they walk away, Sicily confides in him that she feels powerless, that she couldn't do anything for that man, but Shin says that she helped him hold on, and she healed a lot of other people as well. A lot of people thank her, and everybody claps. No, sorry, I lied about that last part. After King Swede officially thanks them for their aid, August starts talking business about the demonoid attack being fishy. As their reasons for attacking are unclear, August offers an alliance between the two kingdoms, and King Swede promises to think it over. Later on, Shin says that were they to travel here by a gate, they could have prevented many casualties, and both August and Shin get an idea. When they come back home, they're greeted with fireworks and celebrations. Ellie and May ambush August with hugs, an experience you'll never have, and to Zeus, Merlin and Melita approach and congratulate them on a job well done as well. It is then that August asks Zeus to give him the opportunity to negotiate with other nations, and Dis accepts. Of course, everyone in the group is set to go along as well, and Ellie and May tag along too, because why not? Back in the Empire, Shockram starts chewing his subordinates out for acting without his permission, but only because they haven't gone at it hard enough for his liking. As he walks away, he asks Miria about progress on some secret matter, and she blushes and says that nothing is known for sure yet. Do I want to know? Are there doujins about that? You tell me. And in the end, ultimate magicians set off for other places, leaving behind everyone with smiles, confident that they can change the world for the better.